last event was in Papua New Guinea when I was 25, and I had a couple of instances there where on the way to the airport, we got pulled over by some corrupt cops and army men. I was in the car with my billet. I had guns tapped down the side of the car, and then pretty much got robbed on the way to the airport. And I jumped on the plane, came back, and that was the last international tournament I played. And that was just, if I wasn't looking for a sign as such, but that was
well, you got one
in hindsight. In hindsight.
Wait, so they literally just like highway jacked you, like pulled you over on the side of the road. Let me see your identification, and then it was like, we're going to do this. And I mean, at that point, there's not much that you have no foot to stand on.
Exactly. Well, the whole deal is that obviously they're just trying to get a bribe. And
right.
It was just myself and my billet. We had a very early flight. We were in Papua, I think it was Port Moresby at this time, or Ley. I can't remember, Port Moresby or Ley, one of those. And we're on the way to the airport. It was just me and the billet. It was really early. I had two army men holding a chain across the road. They directed us down this dirt path, pulled up behind us, tapped on the windows with the guns, asked for the passport. Of course, I'm not handing my passport over, so I shove it down my pants.
Yeah.
And then I actually ended up making up a story that my wife was pregnant. She was at the airport and she had my passport and all this sort of stuff. And eventually we just gave them the money, but it was 15 minutes of sitting in a car in a position where I know I had really no way out. And if I miss this flight, then I've got to hang in this place for a period of time, which obviously didn't want to do. And then, long story short, ended up making the plane, got home, and I thought, okay, that was a sign. Now, that moment when I got back, I realized that I didn't want to do that anymore. And it was not just that moment. It was just the fact that I just felt so stressed playing golf. There was an element of my golf game as well, where I knew that I was very good in certain disciplines, such as iron play and wedge play, but driving off the tee and really executing under pressure, I saw, compared to the guys that were winning week in, week out, I just didn't have that level of technical competency. Right. And then had that decision where I got back and I was like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? And I spent the next pretty much 12 months having the world's biggest identity crisis, going, what do I do? Now, I've always been driven. I've always been driven, but it has to be very directed and focused. And because I didn't have anything to channel that direction to, I started having to have like real honest conversations with myself. Now, I needed to make money somehow. So I started going back and doing the landscaping full time and everything like that. And while I was doing that, back when podcasts and audiobooks first came a thing back in 2014, 15, I remember I put my headphones in and the instructions from our boss at the time was like, rake this big pile of mulch all day. And I just listened to professional development, self-development books, business growth and everything like that for pretty much 8 to 12 months. And that got me addicted on the process of learning and growth as such. So that naturally transitioned into an interest in, okay, I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset. My dad was a semi-pro surfer. My mum's a fashion designer. They have always been their own bosses. They've never really worked for anyone. So that